All righty. Welcome, friends, and welcome, Sarah. I think this is going to be your first time on my YouTube channel. We've done podcasts and things like that together, but I'm so excited you're here.
I'm excited to be here. I don't know how you like people. I guess people always say to me that they don't know how I do all the things I do, but I don't know how you keep up with like all the different platforms and all the different things.
It's like it's gas and brakes sometimes, like, finding the things that you need to focus on. And I try to be very flexible and give myself grace because you can't do everything 100% all the time. So,
Can you remind me
uh,
of that too?
yeah, I was saying it to me, but I was saying it to you too. Well, I am so excited you're here. Would you mind just kind of introducing yourself and then I'll share kind of how we've connected over time, but just a little bit about who you are for my friends that don't know you?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I'm Sarah Fucinari. I live in Gilbert, Arizona. I'm originally a Jersey girl, and my health journey started, well, I struggled for what, 2 decades, but my successful health journey, started, so crazy to think it just a decade ago, just about. And I struggled for, as I said, for years. I was a binge eater. I was a yo-yo dieter, like you name it, I had it. I had a lot of health stuff going on from PCOS to having cortisol issues, hormonal imbalances, gut issues, you name it. I had it.
Hmm.
Um, I initially started off by myself. I had decided to get weight loss surgery, and I was feeling like this was going to be like the thing. And it was very much so sold to me. And I do feel like that word is intentional, sold,
Yeah. Hmm.
by my bariatric surgeon. And my story is very different than yours, that I didn't do a whole lot of research. I like saw that it was an option, and I went to go have an appointment, and my surgeon looked at my insurance, and it was like, here we go. Yep, that's good. And I had
Hmm.
surgery 2 months later. I like didn't do nearly the amount of like prep and research work that you did. So I think that's a big and important difference in our stories.
Well, and how long ago was that now that you've had surgery?
2016.
Yeah, so I mean, back then too, I feel like it was just a newer thing that was just starting to gain traction where there wasn't like a lot of resources really at that point so much. So,
Definitely not resources as far as like communities and things like there is
hmm.
now. Although you and I have talked before about how I feel about that I feel like there's, a plethora and a lot of quantity as far as resources now. And I really hope that in the next decade that we see the quality come up. And I think that you're really kind of like flagshipping that in a lot of ways. And I really like to see that. But so I had opted to get surgery. I had the vertical sleeve. And then I found myself, around that like almost year mark, feeling like I was working my ass off and things were starting to work against me. I
Hmm.
found myself eating 800 calories. I was exercising for 2 hours a day. It was definitely not a lack of effort thing. And things were starting to go backwards. And so I felt like, gosh, I'm going to be a statistic. This failed me. And I felt like, maybe I just don't get to be one of those lucky people that gets to be thin and that gets to be healthy. And I will also share that my goals had nothing to do with health. Even though I had
Hmm.
health things, my goals
Yeah.
in the beginning had nothing to do with health. My goals were all about vanity,
Hmm.
which I always never, I never wanted to share that because I always felt made me feel like so shallow. But
Hmm.
as time has passed and as I've kind of, dug in a little bit more, I really realized that, the vanity thing should not be something that you're ashamed of, because when we think of the vanity thing, that's not really what it's about.
No.
It's about feeling comfortable and confident in your body. And so when I dug in and I realized that, I was like, okay, maybe I'm not so shallow.
Yeah, no. I think that's a big component. I mean, the truth of the matter is the world is set up a lot easier for people who have smaller bodies too. So it's like even just convenience purposes and there can be a lot of reasons that are true at the same time.
Mhm. You know what's so interesting? Can I tangent?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Okay, that now that I do live in a smaller body and probably a smaller than most body because I've taken it to that next level. I'm also like a tiny, like I'm like a pilgrim sized
Hmm.
person. Um, that I find that I have more, like, I can't think of a better word, and you probably have a good word for it, but I'm gonna use the word discrimination or
Oh, interesting.
than ever. Um,
Uh-huh.
Now I can't go. I go into a store. I used to be able to find clothes for myself even at my
Uh-huh.
biggest. now I go into a store, like I went into Target not that long ago, and I went into the athletic section, and they had like those cute long line bras, and
Hmm.
they had them in like 15 colors. So there was huge amount of inventory. Not one thing that had my size. Like I find that I get
Really?
like more hate now than I did then.
Hmm.
But also I think it's important to note that like my high weight was 210, I think was like the highest I weighed in
Okay.
at,
Hmm.
which for me is, quite heavy.
Hmm.
But that I was not at the stage of like needing of certain quality of life things. Like, I never had trouble like fitting on an airplane seat, things like that. So I think that
Sure.
there's differences there.
Hmm.
But I have noticed that. So, okay, tangent done. So, so I had my surgery. I had gotten to almost a year out. Things weren't working for me anymore. And I thought, what am I going to do? And giving up was not on my radar. Well, maybe it was starting to be on my radar. But I decided to pull the trigger and hire a coach. And it was really scary. And it was a huge investment. And quite frankly,
Hmm.
I didn't have the money at the time. And I went into debt over it. And it's the best debt I've ever had. I went into debt over way dumber things. But it was to the point that it was like I felt like this is going to be the last thing that I try because
Hmm.
it's enough already, and I'm sick of having this great source of pain in my life. And so I did my research as far as that, more research than I did on my surgery. And I hired Jason Theobald as my coach, and he is very much a bodybuilder coach.
Hmm.
But I had listened to him on a couple podcasts and I really liked what he had to say. And I don't know, the universe just told me that this was the right thing to do. And so I hired Jason and I went all in and I decided that I would do whatever he says, no matter what. I'll eat dog shit if he tells me to.
You were
And I was in that place.
committed.
Well, and I was in that place that I don't even know if committed is the word. I almost think it was desperation a
Yeah.
little bit
Hmm.
at that point. And he helped me more than anybody else has ever helped me. And he not only changed my life, but he changed the trajectory of my life, which is why
Hmm.
that we are, and I just got chills saying that. But that's why that we're sitting here today. And so I'm so lucky that I chose the right person
Hmm.
to lead me. And though it's a lot different than how I lead others now because I'm
Hmm.
not hardcore, I'm not putting people most of my people I'm not putting on stage, but I guess now I'm negating myself from our conversation. I do that too, but different approaches and things. But I'm forever grateful for what Jason did for me, and I to this day keep in touch with him. And sometimes I go for a little like tune up and touch up if I want some accountability there as well. But I mean, that was the thing, as much as I wanted weight loss surgery to be the thing, I think it was the catalyst to actually find the thing. So I think that in a lot of ways that we say weight loss surgery is a tool, maybe that's an unconventional way of looking at it, but that's how it was a tool for me.
Sure.
And now and now it's really not a worry for me. And I've
Mhm.
reached all of my goals and I continue to progress and set new goals. But it's such an incredible experience when you've been fighting your body for decades, and
Mhm.
your mind, and that you finally get to take this thing that's been such a great source of stress and pain, and take the time to invest in yourself. And when I tell people that I was with my coach for 4 years, they look at me like 4 years, that's forever. But if we think about it, and I was maybe with him a little bit too long, but I always think of it as like I had like the first 30 years of my life that was such a great source of pain and that I invested and took the time and spent the money, quite frankly, to get the people that I needed in my
Mhm.
corner
Mhm.
for 4 years. And so I can live the rest of my life, however many decades, God willing,
Mhm.
with this not being a source of pain. So 4 years is a drop in the bucket.
Yeah, no, truly. I mean, time is such a weird thing like that. And I think for me, after having surgery, it was like I couldn't look past the first year just because I couldn't even imagine or fathom losing the weight in the first place. Like, and so, but then it's interesting just like building new goals and having new things to look towards. And so 4 years really, it does go by fast. It'll be 3 years this year since having surgery for me. It's weird.
It is weird. It's so
Yeah.
funny that you just said that because I feel like I always say I'm a lot of things, but a patient woman isn't one of them. And I don't know you that well, but I know you a good amount now. We've been working together for a while and we've had a lot of conversations. I think of you as one of the most patient and like realistic women I've ever met.
Oh, thank you. It's been a lot of work because it's not something that's natural for me. I tend to be very like I want to get it done right now. I tend to be very impulsive, but I think my husband's actually helped me a lot with that. He's like the opposite end of the spectrum of like, I'm going to think about this for 10 years and then I'll let you know. And so
Mhm.
I feel like we're a good balance where I've seen the value of like, oh yeah, it's okay to take time and to think about things. And there's not this timeline that I'm rushing to have to get to. That's what I always felt like is like there has to be this timeline. And a lot of times it was just me setting that for myself. And so it's like, okay, then I'm not going to rush anymore. I'm going to just chill and like, get work done. But I hate feeling rushed. So I try
Mhm.
not to put that on myself anymore to feel rushed.
I'm like, well, I just like kind of like just like cross things off my list.
Yeah,
ADD brains over here, like, how many tabs are open in our
I
brain right
know.
now? But it's funny you say that about your dynamic with your husband. Very similar to mine.
Yep.
Mark is a little bit older. Is your husband the same age as you or different?
He's actually a little younger than me, but
Ooh,
he's
interesting.
like wise. He's like wise
Right.
beyond his years.
Yeah,
We're old
like old
souls.
soul type of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
You are too a little bit though.
Yeah, we're
Uh,
like 80-year-olds, like in our almost 30s.
Well, Mark is a little bit older than me. He's not a whole lot older than me, but he definitely, I would describe him just as you
Yep.
described your husband. But I also, let's give ourselves a little credit and, oh,
Oh,
excuse me, and give we all knew the bird was going to make a noise on this
oh
call.
no, it's perfect. Bring him in if you
But
want.
I think that we can flip it around and give the little yin to our yang and give ourselves credit too, because if it wasn't for us, they would never take action.
No, and we're the fun. I mean, let's be honest. That's what I say to Dylan all the time. I'm like, you would be so bored all the time if it wasn't for me. And he, spontaneity and bringing some spice to life, like that's our jam. So yeah, you and I bring a lot too.
Yeah, I keep Mark on his toes for sure.
That's right. Dylan would eat the same thing every single day. He would, never have a dirty dish in the sink at any time and always have everything done. And it's like, no, that's just boring.
Mhm. I'm with your sister.
Um, Sorry, I didn't want to cut you off of your
You're not
story.
cutting me off. I think that's
Was that a
about
good
it. So, I mean,
segue? Okay.
I've been coaching for what, 6 or 7 years now.
Yeah.
I've been really blessed that that I started my coaching, it was kind of like an accident.
Hmm.
So like when I got rolling with my coach and like it set me free in so many ways, was just obsessed with education. And I know
Hmm.
you're very similar in that as well.
Hmm.
And just like you do to me, I don't not do to me, but not like just like your like what with your research, like I always like that you question me. And I don't know if I would say that you challenge me because I think that like the vibe around that feels wrong. But you're always doing your homework too, and you're coming to me
Hmm.
to get the most out of your experience. And I was very much that way as well.
Hmm.
And so from there, it was like, my Instagram page was originally for me to just creep on other weight loss accounts. Like I didn't even
Hmm.
put like my face on it for forever. But then I started just kind of like sharing and posting and sharing what was working for me. That's a lot of what the bariatric community was at that point. There wasn't, anything
Hmm.
real formal going on. Um, and then people would start asking me questions, and then it like turned into me helping them, and then it turned into, oh, I should probably charge these people. And then
Hmm.
it turned into, them telling their friends. And to this day, I am just about 100% referral based, which I
Yeah.
love.
Hmm.
I'm really lucky that I really like all of my clients too. And
Yeah.
I formed real friendship with so many
Hmm.
people,
Hmm.
which is just, it's so wild to me. And clients have formed so many friendships amongst them as well.
Hmm.
But really, it just, it happened organically and it blew up very
Hmm.
quickly.
Hmm.
And I'm so blessed for that. And I very quickly, so COVID is when things really, really got wild.
Hmm.
Because people really wanted to focus on it. But I also used to travel for work. So I was a national account manager for a pharmaceutical company, and I was on the road, and I don't say on the road, I was in the air every single week. So
Wow.
I was gone all the time, but now that I was grounded and right
Hmm.
before a trip to India that I really didn't want to take. So that was great.
Good.
Once I was grounded, I had the time to really start helping more people and get through my wait
Hmm.
lists and all of those things. And that's by the end of 2020, we had moved out to Arizona from Colorado. And that's when I said, I really just can't juggle both. And I took a leap of faith. And since then, it's just been, unbelievable, truly.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, and then I just started working with you in July. I can't believe I feel like so much has happened in that time, but like it's also that's not been that long of a time. Like it's kind of crazy. But
No,
anyway,
that's wait, I honestly like kind of can't like I mean I like I can't believe it because I know the dates, but I also yeah, weird.
yeah, so crazy. And I'm so thankful. Like I just feel like our paths crossed at such a great time for me in my life where I was about 2.5 years post-op. I had experienced some regain, which is like very common. I think a lot of people can feel a lot of shame about that, but it's like our bodies are not statues, they ebb and flow. And I was just at a place where I was like, oh, like I want to tone up, I want to move my body, but I had no experience. It's something I never grew up learning, like, and I don't feel like or this, what I did learn, I feel like it wasn't very good information. It wasn't very accurate. And so anyway, Sarah comes along and we have been collaborating together and it's been such an awesome experience. And I just feel so lucky that I get to work with you and your team. And since then, I don't think I've actually even told you this and like told you this, but I've lost all of my regain since
Oh, that's
we connected.
amazing.
Yeah. So
That's amazing.
it's been 17 pounds, which is just like wild to me. So I've lost all of my regain. Sarah has helped me navigate my terzipatide journey, which I'm so thankful for you with all of that. And that's been such a helpful tool for me as well to help like managing my PCOS, my insulin resistance, all of that. It's been amazing. Um, and so, anyway, it's been awesome working with her and her team. And so I've tried to refer people over to you because I feel like your program is just so helpful. And I was very like cautious coming into things like I am with a lot of people that I work with where I just wanted to make sure that you were like legitimate and because I have worked with other coaches in the past where um they just weren't my style, or I felt like they were very money grabby, which I understand it's a business. I have a business as well. So no shade or shame to that. But if I'm going to be recommending somebody or a product or something to the people that watch, my channel, like I just really wanted to vet it carefully. And so Sarah's like the real deal. I've just loved working with you. I've loved working with your team. And part of this journey has been deciding that I'm going to do the radical body transformation competition, which is, I would say, like a newbie bodybuilding competition. Like it's more tailored for people who have never done it before, but like never in a million gazillion years did I ever think I would do something like this. It just wasn't in my like plan. It wasn't in anything that I thought I would be interested in. But I think what it encouraged me to do it was it's like, oh my gosh, look at all this progress I've made since July. Like it's such a short amount of time. And I feel like how you've set up the program, I haven't felt really overwhelmed by it. There's been some times where it's like it was more in the beginning of like learning how to use chronometer and like, all of the apps and like, getting a plan in place. Like there's a learning curve, but then after that it was like, oh, like this isn't that hard to incorporate. And it's something that like I enjoy doing. And I look forward to, my workouts that I'm doing. I look forward to the food that I'm eating. And so anyway, that's what made me decide like, sure, like why not? I'll do it. And like, there's going to be a lot of bariatric people that are coming who have never done anything like this before either. And so I'm really, really excited about it. And I'm making, like a whole playlist about my journey with that. But now that I've made this decision, I'm going, okay, Sarah, I don't know what the hell I'm doing at all. So I know that other people who are going to be watching this are kind of in on the fence of like if they're going to do a show like this or not, potentially this show that's coming up, in June. But maybe if we could just kind of start with that of like, no, where I'm at and like kind of where I've been in my journey. Like, what do I do now that I've made this decision?
All right, let's dive in. I kind of want to respond to something that you had mentioned about how you were like, haven't been overwhelmed, but in the beginning, a little bit so. And I think that that is just for anybody that's considering coaching, whether, I'm your cup of tea or you hire somebody else. I think that it's really important to get to have your expectations where they should be. And I'll tell you
Yeah.
what I mean by that. I find that when it comes to this health and fitness thing, that we set this expectation that we're just going to flip a light switch and do it.
Hmm.
And that's not at all. And I think we all, and when we think about it in this way that I think I'm going to explain it, I think that everybody will agree that it doesn't work that way. It just doesn't. There's nothing intuitive about any of this. It's a learned skill. It comes with lots of practice and lots of repetition. But also remember, in the beginning, you're a beginner. And
Hmm.
my favorite analogy is my golf analogy because if we let's take this health and fitness thing out of our mind and let's think about something else that we're going to sign up for. So we're going to sign up to play golf. I'm your golf instructor. You're going to show up to that first day for your lesson, and you know that you are not even going to go play golf with your friends. You're going to be at the driving range. You're going to have no idea how to pick up the club. It's going to feel real uncomfortable. And then you're going to start getting some tips from your coach, right? Your coach is going to give you your plan. Your coach is going to tell you what to do between this lesson and the next lesson. And then sometimes you're going to say, am I allowed to curse on this?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. And then sometimes you're going to say, text your coach and say, I can't hit this fucking ball. I'm doing all the things you told me to do, and I just can't fucking hit it. And then your coach will say, you know what? These are the couple little things that you need to do. And that communication is so key. And it's a huge part of why
Hmm.
you have not only been successful in the program, but why you have been able to really, why I have been able to really tailor it to you is because
Hmm.
I don't know what you need unless you communicate.
Hmm.
And so I like to think of it as that way is that you got to have that communication, but you also need to set that expectation that
Hmm.
I'm going to suck at the beginning
Yeah.
and that's okay. I hired a professional because I
Hmm.
don't know how to do this.
Hmm.
And that's okay.
And that's the worst part of it for me because that's where my ADD comes in, where it's like, no, I just want to be good like off the bat. And I think a lot of people can relate to that. It's like, and I think also too, there's can be a lot of shame and embarrassment with that of like thinking, oh, I'm like, because I don't know these things, I'm such an incompetent person or I'm so stupid. But like you said, no, it's like these are skills that take time to learn and develop. And what I often remind people of too is like, so many of us did not learn these things growing up. I wish that we had, like that, but a lot of this was not taught in school. Maybe we got like a nutrition. I
Right.
know it
People
sucks.
want
That
to teach
and
our
money.
bodies and you can't teach us how to manage our finances. Come on.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. So it's like, no, have some grace on yourself of like, yeah, this is completely new and admitting that, yeah, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Like that's not a negative reflection of who you are as a person. It's actually like a very positive one to go, yeah, you're asking for help and getting support from people who know what they're doing because I don't want to just try to wing it. Like it doesn't work. That doesn't work well for me. And I know that, and that's
I'll
okay.
tell you that many of almost all the clients that I work with are like super women in other areas of their
Hmm.
lives. They're rocking their career. They got a bunch of kids. They're doing all the things.
Hmm.
But it's and so then there's this one thing that they're like, why can't I figure this out?
Hmm.
And, and then if we think about like how the diet industry is literally designed, the
Hmm.
diet industry tells us that we're supposed to know what to do. Like you're
Hmm.
supposed to do, you just need to do this, super generalized thing, and you need
Hmm.
to just eat less and move more. Which when I got to my coach and he told me that I was gonna, eat more and move less, I was like,
Hmm.
excuse me.
Yeah, right, right.
And so it's like we're literally trained to do that because this
Hmm.
how many billion-dollar industry
Right.
is designed for us to try this thing, fail at it, try the next thing,
Hmm.
fail at it.
Hmm.
That's not how Fit With Me is designed. It's
No.
designed to teach you this lifestyle so that you can eventually spread your wings and fly. And though I have many clients that have been with me for several years, that I also have people that want to just come and get the basics.
Hmm.
And then I have people that do what I do and go back from time to time and get a tune-up.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah,
Where
no,
do we
it's
go
so
back?
true.
I didn't answer your
Oh
question.
no, that's okay. No, so I think just jumping into body competition, knowing where I'm at in my journey, what do I do now?
Okay, got it. Okay, so for anybody that is like considering doing something like this, unless you're in a similar place that Shay is in, and I'll explain by what I mean by that, you have no business doing it. Um, and I'll tell you my why about that because I
Hmm.
think that's something that you and I always keep in active and in the forefront of our conversations is if I do this now, what's going to happen then, right? Like what's
Yeah.
going to happen next. And so we're always like working out kind of like the cause and effect, like the
Hmm.
action and the side effect, or whatever that is. And so and the other piece is that we want to make sure that you have the basics and the foundation. Because
Hmm.
if you don't have the foundation, then we're signing up for more rebound after the show.
Hmm.
We're signing up for not as great of results. We're signing up for major mindset stuff.
Hmm.
So you have to have that foundation. And I think that it's kind of like funny in the best way. And I think that you'll agree that when you checked in and we kind of talked about our game plan, it wasn't like we made a whole lot of changes. It was like, you know
Hmm.
what, we're just going to get a little bit more consistent and adherent here. We'll
Hmm.
turn up the dial just like one notch here.
Hmm.
So it's not like you had this like big shock that would, especially if we're talking about like this type of competition that's for people for like transformation, not like a
Hmm.
typical bodybuilding
Right.
competition. That now we're coming from a place of, okay, we have this foundation. It's not like that big shock, and it's
Hmm.
not like, I don't think that you checked in and thought you were locked back into a diet mindset. I think you checked,
No.
we're like, okay, well, I'm going to like bring a little bit more intensity. Maybe it'll come with like a little bit, a little bit more discomfort, a little bit, maybe more sacrifice. But I feel like we were very upfront with each other about like how
Hmm.
much discomfort are we after? How much
Yeah.
sacrifice are we willing to make? How competitive do we want to be?
Hmm.
What are we looking at after the show? Like, what are we looking at as far as the impact on your big picture umbrella
Hmm.
goals,
Hmm.
hormones, long-term health, mindset, all of those things. And I think that we factored that in and we came up with a plan for you that found that good balance of all those
Hmm.
goals. Again, that comes back to our communication. But I think that doing that and always kind of like, starting here and then working backwards is, I mean, that's how we do everything
Yeah.
really.
And
Um,
and I just want to say too, yeah, like if this was something that I could foresee interfering with like my mental and emotional health or my hormone health, like it wouldn't be worth it for me to do that just because that doesn't fit like my long-term big picture goals. And so I just want to like agree and drive that point home. Like I'm not doing this as a way to shame myself or punish myself. It's something like I'm really excited about. And I think also too what made me make the decision to do it is like I could walk up stage right now and feel very happy with where my body's at and like be like I'm
mhm.
proud of myself.
Yep.
So that's why it's like, okay, it's cool that I have until June to get some other pieces in place and maybe like you said, kind of tune up certain things or intensify other things a little bit, but I would be happy going on stage as I am right now. So that's what really confirmed it for myself to go, yeah, like this isn't going to impact my mental and emotional health. I don't think, I'm sure some things will come up and I'll work through them, as I go, but I don't foresee that happening in an intense way. We'll see.
Well, and because we had that conversation out of the gate, I mean, like, let's play out a scenario that 3 months from now, you're like, you know what, Sarah, like that, and you may not even say it to me. I may see it in your biofeedback.
Hmm.
That would be a good time for us to have a conversation of, do we want to forge ahead? Um,
Right.
because you came to me from day one for this of, this was your goal, was not to be sacrificing these things in other
Hmm.
areas that you work so hard for. So we can
Hmm.
have those touch bases along the way.
Right. Right.
And if it ends up not being the right thing for whatever reason, then it's
Hmm.
not the right thing, and that's okay.
Definitely.
But I do want to say that for anybody that wants to do one of these transformation competitions, I don't want what I said before to discourage them from doing it. But I think that being cognizant of when you want to do it is really important. I've had several conversations with other people recently that are interested in this and don't have that foundation in place. And so I said, before we worry about that, let's worry about this, and then
Yeah.
let's talk about that. So I
Hmm.
think it's still an awesome goal, but to maybe rethink the timeline a little
Hmm.
bit, keeping in mind your overall goal, because most women that come to me, most women that will be doing this type of competition have been on that diet merry-go-round of
Yep.
deaths. I definitely would not want anybody to turn up the volume on any kind of,
Hmm.
disordered eating or, mindset stuff or whatever it is.
100%. Hmm. Okay, great. So mindset, biggest thing. And like you said, we kind of talked about that before. I'm feeling good about that. Now what?
Now what?
Yeah, what are
Now,
we gonna do now with my
now we just
plan
get
and stuff?
rocking. So we'll continue to have weekly check-ins.
Okay.
Our first goal here, so step one is that we just kind of are taking maybe like, turning down the dial on flexibility a little
Yeah.
bit.
Hmm.
And that I think is going to be the first step. I don't think that's going to be a huge shock for you. I don't think that that's going to be so big of a deal. We touched base on getting a little bit more strategic over weekends. We all know that weekends can
Hmm.
be a little bit tougher to
Hmm.
plan and to stick to our plan as well. So I think we'll still keep some flexibility in there, but maybe a little bit less. We talked about just having a little bit more of a plan through the weekend. And then I know did you have your consult with Renee yet?
Next week.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Uh-huh.
so that's where we're going to turn up the dial a little bit
Hmm.
there and intensify your training. And truthfully, you're ready. Like you're ready to do that
Hmm.
regardless and take it to the
Yeah.
next level. So I think that the timing there is perfect. And then from there, we're going to touch base every week. I think that we've got this 6 months, and I think that in your case, it would not be useful for us to just like build out a map right now, because I think that if you were somebody that didn't communicate with me, then I would be like, all right, let me take my best guess of how this is going to go.
Yeah.
But because we have such good rapport, I think that we can just continue to take it in stride and
Hmm.
look at see how your body responds,
Hmm.
and then make adjustments as necessary. But as I said, it's not like we have to do anything crazy. And this is the best way to start, right?
Hmm. Yep.
Doing anything crazy. You're not coming at it from like some diet crazy mindset. We're just like, you know what? We already really like where we're at right now, but now, everything else is gravy. And I think that a lot of the mindset that we have around this, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't know if we've touched base on this, is let's see what I can do.
Yeah, definitely.
Making it a
Hmm.
little bit of a game in that way. Let's
Yeah.
see what I
Hmm.
can do. And I'm
Yeah.
excited about that.
Yeah. No, I'm in full agreement with that. And just to back it up a little bit too, could we maybe just go through where I started with you, and get a little more detailed on food plan, exercise plan, and kind of what I've progressed up to? Because I think that might also be helpful context for people of just like where I started, where I'm at now, and what that means to turn up the
Mhm.
dial a little bit, because I feel like I'm in a really good, consistent place, but maybe help. I mean, maybe we can help each other remember where I started and kind of like what changes we've made along the way. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I do have to pop off in 5 minutes, just so you know.
Okay, perfect. Sounds
Want to make
good.
that happen?
Yeah, yeah. We'll just run through it quick.
So you came to me in a different place than a lot of people do. You already had a lot of education on board, whether it be from other professionals. I think more so from a lot of the research that you've done yourself.
Hmm.
But you've put like a lot of your pieces together already, and I think that more than anything, it was like we were kind of like sitting there, and you were like, okay, well, I have all my pieces out in front of me. But I just need to snap them together. And so I
Hmm.
think that's a lot of like that. So it's not like I needed to like give you the pieces. You already had them.
Yeah.
You just needed to snap it together and then make a couple tweaks to make it really customized for you. Um, I know you already came having experience with macro counting and tracking your food, but I do think that we probably increased your education on that point and
Hmm.
added some more
100%.
strategies in there as well. So that's something new. And then I think that when we first met, you were like starting to do like a push-up challenge or something like
Hmm.
that. And so I think the strength training was probably where you're most of a beginner at.
Yes, definitely. And I'll probably do a separate thing talking about that, because I think that's, yeah, where I've grown the most is like the strength training piece. And so now I'm doing about 3 to 4 days a week of strength training, where before I was kind of doing 1 to 2, 3 maybe, but I also too wasn't doing it very effectively. So I'll talk in a different episode kind of about that. But
And I'll
um
say like with the first, like probably like start till now, let's even say, maybe give or take some
mhm,
time, that your strength training has been like very much focused on being safe and being effective, right? Those
mhm,
things. And in the next phase here, we're going to be really focusing on progression,
mhm,
and really and putting a little bit more time under tension, and so that and but we have to have that foundation first, and I'm really glad that we took the time for that foundation also
mhm.
to implement it into your routine and all of that stuff.
Definitely.
Getting the pathways and that central nervous system going is like that's an important thing.
Mhm. Yeah.
And again, always it's important to keep yourself safe.
Mhm.
um I think the third piece of the puzzle is the cardio, and we always have to be strategic with women in general, because we are such hormonal creatures,
Hmm.
of making sure that we have that balance between gas and brake, and that we make sure that we're recovering well, and all of those things, and make sure that we're not driving our cortisol up through the roof. And so I think that moving forward through, especially with the competition coming, that's the place that will probably have the most strategy on board,
Awesome.
keeping in mind your long-term goals.
Hmm. Awesome. Cool. Well, just before you head off, can you just tell people where to find you and how to get in touch if they want coaching from you?
Absolutely. When are you going to be posting this?
Probably in the next uh, 2 weeks, probably.
Okay, perfect. So since the timing is actually perfect,
Oh, good.
you want to talk about that? We are doing a scholarship. So we ran one for the first time last year, and it was awesome. I think I don't have everything totally finalized yet. We'll be running it at the end of the month. And we're going to be giving away, I think we decided on about, I got to crunch some more numbers, on about 15K worth of coaching.
Wow.
Big opportunity there. I really encourage everybody to apply, even if you don't think that, I'm going to pick you. You never know.
Mhm.
So I'll be posting that. So keep an eye on my page, and my page is Sarah F_fit with me. You can also check me out on Facebook. I have a Facebook page. I'm trying to think of like where I'm most active in this.
I'll put all of that in the description
Um,
too.
yeah, perfect. Did I answer all the questions? But
Yeah, yeah. And if you guys want to, if you don't end up getting the scholarship, you can also use discount code Shay with Sarah, and she'll knock off $100 for you on whatever program you choose. So make sure you take advantage of that too.
Yep, absolutely. And remember that there's never any like pressure or anything on for us to set up a call. Calls are totally free. You can ask me whatever questions you want. You don't have to pay me anything. If we decide that we're a good fit to work together, then we can talk about what that looks like. But if you're looking for a coach and we're not a good fit, I can likely refer you out, and make sure that you're with somebody that you'll be in good hands with.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being here. I'm excited to see how this journey goes, and I'm just so thankful that you're here with me doing it.
Me too. It was nice to see your face. We haven't talked in a while.
I know you too.